Today, you will learn the subtle traits of people who experienced mental abuse from narcissists. These behaviors could harm oneself and future relationships. There are so many factors that can cause a person's behavior to change. People's behaviors are as dynamic as shifting tides in the ocean, constantly influenced by a myriad of internal and external factors. Like any type of change, behaviors can change positively as well. However, behavior changes that are products of mental abuse mostly appear negatively. This video will show you 10 subtle traits of individuals who have undergone narcissistic mental abuse. Let us begin. Trait number 1. Unsettled. Calming people who have experienced mental abuse from narcissists is tricky. The anxiety brought to them by the narcissist makes them behave unsettlingly, acting sort of jumpy or fidgety on things. Victims have trouble staying still. They cannot seem to focus their attention and are constantly distracted. It could be that they are bombarded with too many negative thoughts, overthinking too much of the things that have never even happened. So they channel such thoughts on fidgets to somehow make it bearable, if not better. Other times, victims develop mannerisms due to this unsettled behavior, like biting their nails, rocking their feet, and tapping their fingers on tabletops. Trait number 2. Spiteful. Mental abuse is an awful experience. A victim's spiteful behavior is a natural response to the ill deeds of the abuser. Victims tend to take note of their awful experiences to amass grudges against their abuser, hoping that one day the tables will turn and revenge will be theirs. The time to serve vengeance and justify their awful experience will come, especially for narcissists who act as if they are supreme. If you are a victim, you will get tired of always catering to their wishes, tired of them always treating you like a low-born person. So you want to make them bend on their knees and snatch that supremacy from them. Unable to achieve this revenge towards the narcissists will result in a spiteful nature. Victims unconsciously pour this rage into the people surrounding them. Trait number 3. Overcompliant. Compliance is adjusting one's behavior in some way to conform to a request or direction of other people. Overcompliance means overdoing compliance, wherein one always chose to comply despite having the option to refuse the request, or regardless of one's capacity to comply with the request. This means doing something one does not want to do, but does it anyway simply because someone else has asked. Victims often become overcompliant after mental abuse to avoid further abuse. It could also be that they still want to maintain their relationships with their abuser or other people. Trait number 4. Anxious and depressed. Have you ever encountered someone who always feels anxious and depressed? Did you try to talk to that person and ask, "How are you?" Or, "Are you all right?" That person could be a victim of mental abuse from narcissists. Mental abuse is highly draining. It lingers longer, unlike bruises that heal with a pack of ice bags. Mental abuse is tough to forget. It only takes a word for mental abuse. But that one word cuts deeper than a knife. Especially if your abuser is somebody you cannot distance yourself from, or somebody whom you always see. Of course, the anticipation of further abuse cannot make a person happy and positive. It never did. Instead, it makes you behave depressingly and anxiously, wherein you just wanted everything to end. It keeps you questioning, what's next, or what else? If you ever feel this way, consult a professional for help. Hello viewers, surprisingly 80% of you haven't subscribed yet. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Your support means a lot. Let's continue, shall we? Trait number 5. Have no self-control. The mind is the central control of every human being. It controls the whole body and self. Everything starts here before it is put into action and behavior. It processes the situation before producing reactions. The thing with mental abuse is that it targets primary control, resulting in the parts going disobedient. The victim loses control of oneself, inept of restraining one's emotions, desires, and impulses, which is not so good. A lack of self-control will only ruin everything. It makes one say words they could not take back, or do things they will only regret. Trait number 6. Pessimism. Have you encountered a person who has a negative outlook on life? A person that lives life for the sake of living? A person on the brink of losing hope, Always doubting everything around, even oneself, is not an exception. A person lacking hope or confidence in the future is a sign of mental abuse. Their views of the past, the present, or the future are inclined to the negative side, believing that the worst of the worst is what lies forward, backward, or as is. They become suspicious when they are treated well, thinking that such treatment is done to give way to future ill intentions. For example, one of the effects of mental abuse is degradation. This degradation will then make you pessimistic. This will result in undervaluing your own capabilities, depriving yourself of the good things, thinking that you do not deserve it. Afraid of taking risks for failing is what always comes to mind. Trait number 7. Inactive or slack. People who experience mental abuse lose interest even in what they once loved to do so much, causing them to behave inactively and slack. Even though they are provided with time and resources, they still display their unwillingness to work. They are still unmotivated, even if they know they have the skill and can complete the task perfectly. It is because they assume the worst in all things. Or at least the mental abuse inflicted on them by the narcissist made them believe so. Of course, nobody would be productive if they were so pessimistic about their life outlook, especially if others do not value your productivity, making it unfulfilling and unrewarding. Trait number 8. Lack of self-confidence. Experiencing mental abuse is an unpleasant happening in one's life. It is embarrassing on the part of the victim. It makes them look weak, inferior, and vulnerable. They think they will be judged or criticized if they reveal their awful experiences to others. Nobody would want to appear that way. In contrast, however, victims always end up looking weak, inferior, and vulnerable, no matter how much they avoid appearing this way. This is because abusers tend to repetitively attack their minds, telling them that they are so-and-so. Repetitively hearing these mentally torturous remarks will, of course, attach to their inner core. This will result in broken self-confidence. Trait number 9. Reckless. Psychology says reckless behavior is complete carelessness that leads to the inability to take care of one's own needs as well as the needs of others. Mental abuse makes a victim impulsive and reckless in their decisions. It could be that victims have been under the abuser's control for a long time, causing them to develop codependency towards their abuser during that period. This is because their abusers often make them face a psychological dilemma. A dilemma wherein whichever choices they will make on their own will always lead to something worse. This mental abuse will result in their recklessness or inability to make good decisions. Trait number 10. Irrational. Irrationality is setting aside logic in making decisions, acting or reacting even with shallow and inadequate reasons, becoming oversensitive by showing hysterical and exaggerated emotions. Mental abusers destroy their victims' logic. They plant incorrect core beliefs in the victims' minds, beliefs that are often destructive and judgmental. This belief will often highlight the worthlessness of their victims. This negatively affects how their victims conceptualize things, resulting in irrational behaviors. Of course, it is typical for one to feel attacked when judged or labeled by something they are not. Remember, you're not alone, and there is hope for a brighter future. If you or someone you know recognizes these traits and is struggling, seeking professional guidance and support is vital. Healing is possible, and a happier, healthier life awaits. We appreciate your presence and engagement. If you found this information valuable, please consider subscribing and giving us a thumbs up. Your support fuels our commitment to providing essential insights and fostering a supportive community. As we conclude this enlightening journey, remember that your well-being matters. You have the strength to overcome and thrive. Thank you for being a part of this transformative experience. Until next time, take care and stay strong.